Hello, my name is Kittrell, and this is my Faciliator discussion on multicultural training for educators of the gifted. Where are all of the minority teachers? One of the big problems in education is the scarcity of culturally and racially diverse teachers. The Carnegie Report, 1986, advised that schools be staffed by teachers who reflect the diversity of the nation's racial and cultural heritage, presenting white and minority children with something more than exclusively white school personnel. Ford, Grantham, and Harris, 1997. This means that as the population diversifies, so should school staff, so that students may learn and interact with teachers from different cultures. The problem is that the number of minority students is steadily increasing, while the number of minority teachers is steadily decreasing. At this rate, most students will never have a black or other minority teacher in their educational career. Why do minorities not want to teach? I suppose that question should read, why do minorities no longer want to teach? After slavery, blacks were limited to certain professions. Teaching was deemed a suitable profession, and there was a huge need to educate the black community. Today, blacks still hold fast to the idea of education changing their lives, but are often recruited by science and math disciplines. Blacks have shifted from education to prestigious, high-paying professions like doctors, lawyers, and engineers. The recruitment factors. Other disciplines aggressively recruit minority students. Ford, Grantham, and Harris, 1997. There are fewer minorities that attend college, and of the attendees that do attend, the number of students that are interested in education is very limited. The minorities that do get into an education program often feel isolated in the education program. Minorities are also underprepared for the problems they will face in their classrooms, specifically in urban settings, by those education programs. A lot of minorities also have negative educational experiences in grades K through 12, and the screening process for which applicants become teachers is skewed negatively for minorities. Minorities tend to perform poorer on standardized testing, which leads to them being screened out due to their test scores. Retention factors. Black teachers are placed in special education classrooms, not gifted. Ford said this in a positive way. The overrepresentation of black students in special ed is mirrored to a degree by black teachers. But, if this is true, you have to take note of the high volume of blacks and minorities and low ability groups and their absence in gifted classes. The location of their teaching job. Minorities tend to teach in urban schools where there is a high volume of poverty and limited resources, ruling out many gifted programs. Burnout. Black teachers, like all teachers, burn out, just quicker than other teachers. The contributing factors to this problem are the lack of support by the administration and parents, the lack of preparedness that they receive from their college education, and the lack of resources. Salary is another contributing factor. The low salary, in conjunction with rough teaching environments, cause minorities to flee education as a profession. Family influence. This is pretty simple. Parents are simply not encouraging their children to be educators. Why do we need minority teachers? Teachers are role models for their students, and currently, white teachers are the only race that are leading the education field. This gives education a white dominance in the eyes of all students. We need minority educators so that white children begin to cross cultural boundaries and ideologies. White students need to be able to see that blacks can lead, they can be good people in society, and they can teach them. This lesson needs to be established early and reinforced several times. Minorities need black teachers to boost confidence as aspirations, to help them achieve on all levels, Integrate positive self-perceptions. Ford, Grantham, and Harris, 1977. School is the earliest and most effective teaching environment for students outside of the home. We must prepare our students to excel in a culturally diverse world and be accepting and tolerant to all walks of life. This starts by increasing the diversity of faculty and staff at school. What do minority teachers have to do with gifted education? A primary factor in the successful identification of Black students is a positive teacher attitude, cultural awareness, and cultural sensitivity. Ford, Grantham, and Harris, 1997. Black teachers are needed because they see Black students differently. Multiple studies have been completed showing white teachers have lower expectations for Black students. There is also no cultural congruency from a white educator to a Black student, making student-teacher relationships difficult. Black students also learn differently. They learn through human interaction, movement, and engagement. Oftentimes, white educators teach by the text and make little to no adjustments or consideration to their culturally diverse students. With these and a culmination of other factors, Blacks are often isolated in school and overlooked in the classroom, which means they aren't being recommended or identified for gifted education. Recommendations for recruitment and retention of minority educators. If we want to continue to have Black educators and not have them die out as an endangered species, we must support minorities beginning in middle school. They need counseling, mentoring, and tutoring. We must encourage our students to teach, especially the gifted ones. We must create an inclusive and supportive environment, socially and emotionally, from grades K through 12, and in college in the form of cohorts. We have to revamp college courses so that they include teachings on multicultural education and how to survive in the urban school settings that minorities are being placed in. Also, we need financial incentives such as student loan forgiveness. Questions to answer in the discussion. How many of you have had a Black teacher growing up? What was he or she like? Was it a different experience from having a white teacher? I personally can only think of 2 Black teachers that I've had. They were both female, and one had more of an effect on me than the other. In your respective schools, how does the discussion go about cultural diversity or multicultural education? Do you have these conversations? Are various cultures and their needs mentioned, or just the idea that the school needs to be more culturally diverse? Do you think there is a correlation between the lack of minorities in gifted education programs and the lack of minority teachers? Do you encourage your students to become teachers? Why or why not? This concludes my presentation. Thanks for listening.